There's a concept in chess called a hanging piece. A lot of people think this is for beginners, but it actually can become much more complicated. And this is a very important tactic that you need to understand if you want to become a better chess player. Let's take a look. So a hanging piece in chess is a piece that's simply unprotected. It's undefended, and it can be captured for free. In this position, it's white to play, and there is a very obvious and very good move for white. If you would like to pause, what do you think it is? All right, well, you had a chance to look at that. The move is simply queen takes g6. If you look carefully, the queen is undefended, and we can simply take it. Super easy, and you're probably thinking, Nelson, I can easily see that. Trust me, though, when I say they're going to get more difficult, and learning how to pair this with other stuff that's going on in the position is how you take your tactics to the next level. So I challenge you guys to try to solve every one of the puzzles that I'm going to be giving you as we go through this. Although keep in mind as we get towards the end, they are going to get much more difficult. So let's go ahead and take a look at another one here. So here we go. It's white to play, and what's the best move for white? You got a chance to look at that. The move is queen to d5 check. It is a fork on the king and the bishop. Now, how did I find this move? Well, from this position, I'm kind of scanning the board, and I'm looking for hanging pieces, okay? Pieces that are undefended. What do I notice? The queen is undefended, and this bishop is undefended. And when I look at that and I see the king over here, I can very easily find this move, queen to d5, forking these pieces and simply winning the bishop for free, okay? So you always want to be scanning the board, looking for these hanging pieces. I have a hanging piece as well, this bishop on e3, but lucky for me, black doesn't have a way to take advantage of that, right? So again, very basic example. I want to make sure that you understand the concept, and then we're going to ramp up to some more difficult ones very soon. All right, here's another one. It's white to play. What's the best move for white? You had a chance to look at this. The move is queen takes e5. Now, to be honest with you guys, when I first looked at this position, I very quickly said, oh, it's probably just taking the bishop. But upon further investigation, is a rook or a bishop better? A rook is better, right? So I want to take a rook instead of a bishop, right? But it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, just take the bishop. That's not the best move. The game goes on, and it's actually a pretty equal position. Okay, what you need to do is take the rook. The bishop is still under attack, and you have a pin, and now white is completely winning. But again, if we ask ourselves the question in this position, what are the hanging pieces? What are the undefended pieces? We'll notice the queen and the rook. And then I can pair that knowledge with, oh yeah, my queen's there, I can just take the rook. And a rook is better than a bishop. Okay, so you have to be careful. Sometimes it's not always so simple. All right, let's go ahead and jump up to a even more difficult one now, kind of intermediate level. All right, here is the position. White has played rook to g3. It's black to move. What's black's best move? All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that, so there's quite a lot happening in this position. When you look at the hanging pieces, you might notice this rook over here. You might notice this bishop over here. And maybe you'll notice some pawns as well. But also, we have to look at our pieces and look at our rook over here. So if you said queen takes h4, you would be incorrect. And the reason is white's going to simply take our rook. So we got a bishop, but we lost a rook, which is not a good trade. And we're actually going to be getting checkmated. White has all sorts of checkmate threats, and we're basically just losing the game, okay? So it's important when you're looking for these hanging pieces to look for not only your opponents, but also your own, and then make sure you prioritize, okay, what's the biggest thing, what's the biggest risk in the position that I need to, make sure I'm taking into account. And so in this position, our king is very, very close to being checkmated, right? And also the rook is a very serious threat. So the best move in this position is queen takes f2 check. Why? Because the king has nowhere to move. Look at this. It's basically trapped, which forces the rook to go back. And then we can simplify the position, save our king, and at the same time, we get a good trade of a rook for a bishop. So we take, and now it's just a winning position for black, okay? But we had to understand that, like, okay, even though there's a hanging bishop over here, that's not the most important thing. I need to ignore that. Even though there's a hanging rook here, I don't have time to take that. Now it's actually defended because of the bishop. I'm not going to take here. Why? Because of these other threats that were too important in the position, the hanging pieces that we had, right? So hopefully that makes sense. There's layers to it. You have to make sure you get it right. Okay, let's look at another example. All right, here's the position. It's black to play. What's the best move for black? All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that, if you said bishop takes c3, you are incorrect. And that's actually the first move that popped in my mind when I looked at this position. And that's not the correct move. And, it makes a lot of sense because if you look at the bishop over here, it's being attacked by the queen, it's defended by the knight. And so we can actually create an undefended piece or a hanging piece by trading our bishop here, which makes a lot of sense, right? The problem with that is that after queen takes c3, we take here. White can play g4, attack our knight. We have to go back. They can jump their queen in here, and it turns out the queen and the bishop are very dangerous. We have to be extremely careful. Also, the rooks are very powerful, and even though we're temporarily up a piece, because all of our pieces are kind of not really doing a lot, the knight's very awkward. You can't really move it. This is an equal position, according to Stockfish, okay? So what's the best move in this position? Well, it's bishop to d4. Now, why would we go bishop to d4? It has to do with the fact that we're creating a pin on the queen. So notice how we're pairing different tactics together, hanging pieces as well as pins in this case, right? And when white captures to get out of the pin, we're going to take back, again attacking the queen and also forking. So we're pairing a pin, a fork, a hanging piece, right? And when the queen captures, what did we accomplish? The bishop over here is now a hanging piece. Look at that. And now we still get a piece, but we also forced white to sacrifice the rook for our bishop. So essentially we won a rook from that. And our king is no longer in danger because we got rid of the bishop. It was everything just so much better for black now, right? So how did we think through this? Well, it's the idea of not only are you looking for hanging pieces, you're looking for pieces that might potentially become hanging pieces after some trades are forced upon your opponent. So that's how you take this hanging piece tactic to the next level, right? You think about, okay, if I go bishop d4, I can pin the king and the queen. What would that force my opponent to do? They'd have to sacrifice the rook, otherwise they're just losing their queen. That's pretty simple, right? And once that happens, oh, I have a nice little fork, and when they take me, aha, the bishop is now a hanging piece. Now, obviously, you'd have to see that from this position, but that's how you want to be thinking about it. Kind of similar to this, right? We're going to create a hanging piece over here. It just turned out that that wasn't the best way to do it because now our king is exposed and it's not as good as winning a rook like I kind of showed you, okay? But that's what you want to be thinking through, right? Let's look at another one. All right, it's white to play. What's the best move for white? All right, if you had a chance to look at that, the move is b5. And the reason we're playing b5 is not only to attack the queen, but also there's something else going on in the position. So let's say black moves queen, let's just say to c7. What's the follow-up move? You had a chance to look at that, it's b6, attacking the queen again. And let's say the queen moves, I don't know, to c6. What's the follow-up move here for white? You had a chance to look at that, it's knight to e5, attacking the queen yet again. And now we notice something very interesting about the position. Black has to move the queen, but where do you move the queen to? Can you go here? No. Can you go here? No. Can you go here or here? No. Here, here. Nope. Queen's actually trapped. Now, black could have done this differently. Let's just say they would have went to, right here. Let's just say they would have went to d7. We could still play knight to e5 attacking it. And then they could have gone to c7. And we could still play b6 attacking it. And now the queen can actually survive by going to d8. But what has happened now? The bishop on b7 is no longer defended by the queen. We have created a hanging piece, right? Now, that one was very difficult, right? That was not an obvious, like, oh, yeah, there's a hanging piece. I just made it real quick. No, no, no. You had to see 1, 2, 3 different moves extra kind of before you arrived at the hanging piece. And that, again, is taking it to the next level of, all right, let me look around, all right? And how can I not only look for hanging pieces, how can I create hanging pieces, right? And it's a very interesting situation. The queen just doesn't have a lot of squares, and you can actually force it away from the defense of the bishop, okay? But again, pairing all these things together is how you take these tactics to the next level. It very rarely is it just like, oh yeah, there's a hanging piece, I just took it. If you're a low enough level, if you're rated like 500, you're going to see that. But when you get to 1200, 1300, 1400, this is how you beat those players. You start taking the tactics to the next level, okay? So I have 2 more positions that I want to share with you that are going to be much more difficult, so do your best and see if you can solve them. All right, so in this position, white plays knight to e4. It's black to play. What's the best move for black? All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that, if we scan the board and look for hanging pieces, you might notice this bishop here. And you might notice, well, that's pretty much the only thing that I noticed from a quick glance. So how do we take advantage of the bishop here? Well, the move f5 should jump out at you. Why? Because it forces the knight to move out of the way so we can take the bishop. However, it's not that simple because white obviously is going to have some sort of response. What are they going to do? Well, one of the moves that jumped out to me in my mind was knight to f6 check. And what do I have to do now? Well, I can't just leave that there. I'm about to lose a rook. I've got to take it. But then isn't white going to just trade and take me back? And I don't really see that I'm winning anything. What do you guys think the problem with that logic is? So I'll just, from this position, I'll just tell you, if we play f5, I'm afraid white's going to play check. And after we take, they're going to throw in this trade with check and then take me back. What am I forgetting to calculate? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the key piece of the puzzle here is that after this happens, we take. They do get check, but we take with the queen, and notice what happens when we do that. Look at the rook on h1. It's now an undefended piece or a hanging piece. Going back to that concept of which pieces could become hanging pieces after some trades happen, right? And now white doesn't have time to take my knight because they're losing a rook in the corner. They have to deal with the rook. I have time to save my knight, and it's a free piece essentially, okay? There's other options that white has here as well. Knight to g5, trying to defend the bishop. What should we play in this position? You had a chance to look at that. The move is rook takes g5, and it's the same concept of I'm creating an undefended piece. And again, if white takes here, we have the same kind of idea, right? And if they take my rook, you might say, well, is that really a good trade? Yes, it is. 2 pieces for a rook is a good trade. So that's another thing where I'm pairing some knowledge of you have to understand that getting 2 pieces for a rook is a good thing. And then you have to see the tactic and you put all that together and you make the move, right? White also could have played knight takes d6 check. What do we do in this position? This one's pretty straightforward. We just take it. And there's still this constant threat. So whatever white does, if they go here, we can simply trade and grab the bishop. And if they ever try to throw in the check here, we're always going to have that attack on the rook. So again, going back to that, after some trades happen, what hanging pieces would be in the position, okay? So that's how you want to put all this together. And let's finish off with one difficult puzzle. Good luck. See if you can solve this one. So here's the position. White has just played knight to e4, and it's black to move. What's the winning move or sequence of moves? If you had a chance to look at that, so hopefully when you look at this position and you scan for hanging pieces, you would notice the bishop on h4. And you might also notice that we have a bishop lined up on that, which is great. And so you might be inclined to say knight takes e4, which, by the way, is the best move. However, white has rook takes e4, and it defends the bishop. And now you have the question of, well, what do you do? Because it's just a trade. If you take it, do you have a move? What do you guys think? You had a chance to look at that. Yes, you do have a move, and the move is f5. Now, when I looked at this position, I thought bishop f5 was going to be the same idea, trying to chase the rook back so that I can grab the bishop. But it's not the same because white can simply trade here. And if I try to take the rook, they're going to go back with their bishop. And actually, there's an even better move, queen takes f7. I didn't even notice that. I'm just getting like checkmated or something. But the point is, they can just grab the piece and they have like all these different threats. So it just doesn't quite work. So f5 is a different way to do the same thing. And now this move bishop takes d5 doesn't even work because we take here and this is not good for white, okay? So the point is you had to see the threat, see the hanging piece, but you also had to see exactly how to make that rook leave to take advantage of that, okay? And I missed it, like I said, the first time I looked at this, I was thinking it was bishop f5, which is totally the wrong move. f5 is the correct way to do it, okay? So again, pairing those things together is how you take your tactics to the next level. I hope this video helped you guys with hanging pieces and some things to look for. And congratulations if you solved all of these puzzles correctly. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.